So recently, Apple announced the iPhone 17, and before that, Google announced the Pixel 10, I think it is. I'm not actually sure of the number. I don't pay attention as close as I used to, and that's kind of the point of today's video. But, Samsung in the spring announced a whole bunch of devices, and later on they announced the $2,000 Galaxy Fold or whatever they call it, and all these companies are putting out phones and tablets and all sorts of stuff, just like they do. They've done this for many years, and they will continue to do so. But one of the things that I've come to, I don't want to say learn, but just kind of rediscover in my life is that I don't need the most recent version of everything. Now, this is why I needed to rediscover it, was because for years I would go through and find, the most recent version of a phone, and I'd want it. And, I'd want the most recent iPhone or the most recent iPad or whatever. And the problem with that, of course, is that that's an obscene amount of money to spend on something that you don't really need. And what I want to talk about today is just simply that idea is that you don't actually need it. And maybe you do need it and you have legitimate reasons, but for a lot of people, the device lust that we go through, because there's something new and shiny, because we're nerds, or we're into tech stuff, it is unnecessary. And the companies obviously play on that, wanting people to upgrade every year. There's a reason why there's a new iPhone every year. They expect some portion of their audience to upgrade, even though they don't actually need to. And for years, I was that guy. I always wanted to go through and get the new device because that's what I wanted. It was the new phones or whatever have that new orange color. That's really cool, right? They've never had an orange Pro phone before, and I looked at that oh, that's kind of nice, but I have no need for it. I just got a new phone in May after I broke my iPhone, and I have no real need for that thing, especially when these devices have consistently gotten more and more expensive. The idea that you're going to be able to upgrade every single year is just kind of flown out the door. Now, I understand that a lot of people, at least here in the States, don't actually pay for their phones. They get it through whatever the carriers do nowadays. But if you have to pay that money, it can be kind of very excessive, right? So and I know that this has very little to do with Linux, but I'm going to actually tie it into it a little bit because it also applies to laptops. Oh, at least in the Apple ecosystem, a lot of times, a lot of people will use their laptops for quite a lot longer than they do their phones. But still, there's the idea when there's something new, it's a new faster processor, has more graphics cores, whatever. Maybe I need that thing, right? But when it comes to everything like this, I think, at least for me, what I'm transitioning into is using things as much as possible for as long as possible. So, this phone that I have here is going to last me as long as I possibly can make it last. And no more will I go through and just, want to upgrade to the newest and most shiny thing. But the problem is, that want is still there. This is the Galaxy S25. I spent entirely way too much money on it because usually I buy used. My last iPhone was bought used. The Pixel that I had before then was bought used. This time I decided I was going to go and buy a brand new one. And first off, $1,200 is way too much to spend on a phone. But when I realized that that's what I was going to do, I realized that I needed to use it for a long period of time. But there are things about this that I don't really care for. I don't like the sharp edges as much as I did on the iPhone, which are very much a rounded edge. It's much more comfortable in the hand. It's more comfortable to hold your head when you're on a phone call. So there are things about this that I don't like. And I looked at the brand new Pixels, which are basically a Google's version of an iPhone, and with the nice rounded corners, and the brand new version of Android, which looks really awesome. I've looked at that, and that feeling of wanting something different hasn't gone away, but my thought process on all this stuff has, because there's just not enough money to go around. I can't spend it on something like that. Now, I'm not going to say I'm never going to buy anything that I don't need. Part of life is being able to splurge every once in a while, but I want to be able to selectively splurge when, there's a little bit of extra cash and there's something I really want. That's fine. I can do that, but I can't do it on stuff that I don't need, specifically when the thing that I have, does the exact same things just as well. And, it doesn't have the rounded corners I want, but I don't, actually need those things. So this was more of a thing for me, but I'm very much curious if more and more people are going to get into this idea simply because of the way the economy is and the way everything's going. Is like, do you feel like you are just holding on to things a little bit longer? Because when it comes to laptops, I made a video recently about Windows 10 going out of service and how a lot of people can't upgrade to Windows 11 simply because Microsoft has told them that their older hardware is incompatible with the new operating system. And one of the things I really like about Linux is, like, I know that no matter how long I have my PC, I'll be able to use Linux on it. And I like that. Now, my original plan when I finished my OpenSUSE 2-year challenge back in July was to get a new PC. It was going to be my reward for going 2 years on the same distro. But because I'm in this new thing, like I don't want to be disingenuous. I did get the Macintosh for the whole video editing thing, so that played a big role in me not upgrading. But another thing is, like, the computer that I have right now that I use as my main PC works really, really well. I'm going to need to get a new water cooler in it eventually, but I think that I can just, as I go through the years going forward, I can just replace small parts of it and just kind of use it until it's literally, dust and smoke and pieces, and then I can look into upgrading and getting a new one. And if that's 5 or 10 years down the line, I think that that's going to be fantastic. I don't know that it will make it that long, but even if it's just a couple more years, I've already used it 5 years. If I can get another 5 years out of it, I will definitely have gotten my money out of it. And if I can do some selective upgrades, like maybe some faster RAM or some new cooling or whatever, and maybe that will give me a couple extra years. So my new way of looking things is, like, use things for as long as possible. I don't need that device lust in my life anymore. I don't need to look at the new shiny things and say, look, I really want those things and I want to get those things, and I don't need that anymore. I think it's going to be much, not only financially healthy way of living, but also just mental kind of thing. Like, it's very much more, it's mentally healthy to not always seek the new thing, I think. So the whole point of this is, like, only buy stuff if you absolutely need it, is the way that I'm going to start living my life. And I think that a lot of people would be happier if they lived their life that way too, and they would be able to use the money on things that actually matter. So that's it for this one. Very rambly, very non-Linuxy type video. So if you're always here for the Linux stuff, which most of you guys are, I apologize for that, but I wanted to talk about this. I will be writing a more in-depth blog post on this eventually on my personal blog. So if you're interested in that, check that out as well. I'll leave a link for it in the comments or in the video description below. So if you want to comment on this, you can leave those in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. You can follow me on Mastodon. That link will be in the video description. You can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/LinuxCast. There you'll find an exclusive weekly podcast where I just basically sit in front of this microphone for about 15 minutes or so and just ramble on about nonsense. Usually, actually, this would probably be a Patreon podcast, but I wanted to put this out there for everyone, so there you go. Thanks to everybody who does support me on Patreon and YouTube. You guys are all absolutely amazing. Without you, the channel just would not be anywhere near where it is right now, so thank you so very, very much for your support. I truly, truly, truly do appreciate it. If you want to check out the store, that's available at shop.thelinuxcast.org. There you'll find hats and t-shirts and all sorts of stuff. That all the proceeds for that go directly towards helping me make more Linux content for you guys. So thank you so very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.